Okay, so this morning I'm going to talk about email notices, and we're talking about a specific type of notice. This is auto notices. So I'm going to start by giving you some background information so that we're all on the same page, and then I'll move on to sort of what's changing with how we're doing email notices. I know this is really exciting stuff for first thing in the morning, so bear with me. All right, so basically Horizon offers 3 types of notices that SELCO members take advantage of. They're the pre-overdues, and these are the emails that go out 2 days before items are due. I did a presentation, I think, at the last user group on this and how we were automating that process. So that used to be us sort of every day clicking buttons, sending hundreds of emails, waiting for them to go, clicking another button, sending another couple hundred emails. And now it's all set up so that they're scheduled tasks on a server, they're BAT files, they're scripts, they just go out. We get an email confirmation every morning at 6:15 that says they went out. The second type of notices are reminder notices, and those are primarily sent by schools, and those do come in both email and print formats. And for the most part, I think the schools print these out and kind of stick them in a homeroom mailbox or give them to a teacher or something like that. We don't really do these for anybody, but we'll help you set them up. And then the last type of notices, the one most of you are most familiar with, are called your auto notices. They're called auto notices because they generate automatically for the most part as part of day end. These are your firsts, your second overdues, your finals, your losts, that kind of thing. Hold notices fall into this category, but hold notices work a little differently, and that they generate right when you check it in, right? The block generates right when the thing gets checked in. It's on the block record. So auto notices are sending from the blocks on the patron's block window. We send these for some libraries, not all of you. Some of you choose to send them yourself, which is fine. And we're doing them between that 1:30 and 3 time, which is why we ask you not to be in there during that time, because that's when we're processing the notices output for that. So if you're doing your own, you stay out of notices output between 1:30 and 3, and if we're doing them, you want to have your notices for review done by 1:30. Okay? Libraries are billed back for the print notices, but not the emails. Okay, so what do auto notices look like? Well, it's a 2-step process. I'm sure most of you are aware with this. Most of you are doing your notices for review. This is just an example I think I picked on Chatfield yesterday when I was doing screenshots. I don't know if I can make this any bigger. Will that work? Yeah. I don't know if you can see that any better, but most of you probably recognize this window. This is your notices for review. It may not have the same columns, but we can customize that. So if you want to see phone number, or if you don't want to see phone number, or if you want to see the notice type, we can change that for you. You just need to submit a help desk ticket, and we can alter your notices for review window to show you whatever you want, for the most part. So you have to be careful when I make broad, sweeping generalizations like that. So you can see the different types, the borrower location. So item policies follow the item's location. Notices go out by the borrower's location. So you're sending notices for your borrowers. But what notices generate follow the item's location. So that's why if you only send firsts and seconds, and every once in a while you see a third or a fourth, it's because it's from another library and it's following their notices policy. Does that make sense, I hope? So once you select...
Understandable, doesn't necessarily make sense.
So once you select the notices that you want to send or that you don't want to send, the next step is you hit that edit button down there at the bottom and you get this option. Now this is where a lot of people get confused, because there's the print hard copy notice is actually how you tell Horizon you want to send this notice regardless of format. So even though it says print, you're actually also queuing it to be emailed. So if you don't want to send anything, you're choosing take no action. If you do want to send this notice by any format, you're choosing print hard copy notice. All right, so then you hit, you select what you want to do, you would hit save and close, and then if we're doing your notices, you're done. You're pretty much done for the day, and then at 1:30 we go in and we do the next step. If you do your own notice, then you're going to your SERC reports, you're going to notices output instead of notices for review, and we're choosing auto notice here, right? Here's the different types of notices that we talked about. We don't use most of these invoice ones. But you choose the auto notice, and that actually generates the notice that you can see in this list here. So then we highlight it and we hit the output button. And at that point, when the output button is hit, that's when the email will either be sent or the print prints to our printer, or your printer if you're doing them yourselves. So that's how auto notices work. What we're changing is that we're automating that process for borrowers who have notice by email. So first thing is, this is not going to change for you unless you are one of the locations that we do your auto notices for. So for those of you who do your own notices, nothing's changing, okay? For those of you whose notices we do, then it's only changing if your borrower has the notice by email selected, okay? So now you all know where I live, so. Yeah, and it's on video, great. How am I going to continue to hide from the FBI? So, just kidding. So what are some major changes for those of you who are, whose notices we're doing? You aren't going to see these in your notices for review. So if the borrower has notice by email, these won't even be in that first step because they hopefully will have already gone out. So you won't get to choose which ones are going and which ones aren't. All right. And then the other things that are changing is that emails are going to be sent multiple times a day. Right now, this is the time. I have it going at 4 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, 3, 6, 9, or 11. I'm still tweaking some of that. But what this means is so at 4 a.m. is when the bulk of the notices are going to go out because day end happens at about midnight. So that's when your firsts and your overdues and all that kind of stuff, all those blocks are generating. So at 4 a.m. most of the notices are going to go out. And then those other times are just to catch those holds, so that you've checked in because your bins have come or because things have been checked or returned and you're checking it in. So that's why we have number 3, your hold notices will go out more frequently. You'll also get to customize your language. It's actually a pretty big text block that you can change, and you have optional notices that you can send, including you can send an email notice right when something becomes overdue, instead of waiting for that first notice delay, which for most of you is a week. And most people have a first notice delay because most people are going to return it within that week. So you don't want to spend the money to print a notice and then mail it when the thing is probably crossed with the return. So, but you can email a notice the day it becomes overdue, and that doesn't charge or cost you anything because it's just an email. And then you can do a hold pickup reminder. So this is when something is about 2 days, and you can edit that. You can make it 3 or 4 or 1, whatever you want to do, before it expires. So that if you sent your hold notice and you only hold things for 10 days, then on that 8th day, if they still haven't picked it up, you can send them another email and say, hey, this thing is still sitting on the shelf for you. You can also send them an email once their hold does expire. So once it changes to the status of E for expired, then it will generate another notice and send those out. And it has a nice little link that I've been putting in there by default that says you can request this again by going here and linking it to the catalog. You can also choose to email if they've deleted a request, those RD blocks. I don't think most of you will do that, but it is an option. But perhaps one of the best things about doing this is this bottom bullet where you get confirmation that the email was sent in the block history of the borrower's record. So here's an example. Oh, there's an example of that. So you can see this is my account, my testing account, and I requested a book and it went on hold at 4:44 p.m. and then I manually sent the email notices, and you can see in the detail of the block history it says email notice sent for hold notice. And if it's a first overdue, it would say email sent for first overdue. You know, whatever the notice is, it's going to put it right there in that block history. So if you have the reminder, the hold, your hold is going to expire reminder set, then whatever 2 days is before it's going to expire, there would be another email sent for hold reminder. And then if it expired, it would say email sent for hold expired, etc. So.
And you call the help desk to set that?
We do your notices, so you are going to be set up on this automatically. So I sent an email out to those of you who do, whose notices we do. I sent it at the beginning of December, and just let you know that this was coming. My goal was to have this done by the end of the year, but that didn't happen because of the holidays and vacation. So, January is going to be the month where most of this gets rolled out for those of you whose notices we do.
For those optional ones?
Mm-hmm. You'll be asked, I'll ask you, do you want to do these? Yeah. So, back.
Or are the optional ones available to those of us that are doing our own notices, or no?
You have to repeat the questions.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so Morgan asked if the if the optional ones are available for those of you who do your own notices, and the answer is yes. I'll get to that in a minute. No, that's fine. I bounced ahead of myself. So just to go back, so I showed you what was not changing. This is, or what was changing, now this is what's not changing. Bounce backs will still go to the email address that you have chosen. For most of you, that's your location code _ notices, and it gets forwarded to an automation contact or something like that. Borrower must have that notice by email selected. There's no additional fee. Okay, I've been asked that a couple times. And billing notices, they are handled differently in Horizon, so those will always go to notices for review. I can't do anything about that. That's just how they generate. So regardless of format, billing notices will always go to notices for review. And remember that any borrower who has notice by standard is not changing at all. Okay. So I just kind of, when I set you up, what happens is I will set you up and then we'll send you a bunch of test emails so that you can tweak the wording or the format or whatever you want to do it. So this is just an example of one that I sent to Stephanie last week or this sometime, I think Friday or Monday. So that gives her an opportunity to say, you know what, I really want this up here, or I don't want this at all. I don't, you know, or I have some other language that I want for my losts because they're really naughty patrons or something like that. So that just gives you a chance to change some of the formatting. And also in that conversation, I'll ask you, do you want the hold expires? Do you want those optional ones we talked about? All right, so that's just an example of a test one. And this is another test one. So what's next is I'm working with 3 libraries. Right now I've got 3 of you set up, Brad, Alice, and Stephanie. And I got to tweak something on Alice's, but otherwise I think the other 2 are good, and they've been going since yesterday afternoon. And then I have some emails out to a few others of you asking you to verify the format and whatnot. So then this week and next week I'll be starting to contact the rest of you and asking you to verify and asking what options you want. So to answer, go back to Morgan's question about those of you who do your own notices, if you want, we can send your email notices and you can do your own print notices. So that is an option. We can't do the other way around. We can't do your print and you do your own email. That's because of how it's structured, I can't separate it that way. So if you are somebody who's doing your own notices and you want the emails to go out the way I've discussed, just contact the help desk and I'll put you in line. It's gonna have to be between after all the people that we already do, so. Other questions? So why are we doing this? Well, the main reason, hopefully this is self-explanatory, but the main reason is it saves us time and money. We're not sitting at a computer hitting go, go, go. It is part of our strategic plan to do more automation, and it is better customer service and improved communication because especially those hold notices and those hold reminders, because people are getting that more frequently. So we were not previously doing notices on the weekends. So if you had something go on hold at 3 o'clock on a Friday, that person wasn't getting notified until 1:30 on Monday. That's a long time for something to sit on hold. So this will go out every day. And then there is that confirmation in the block history, which makes your lives a little easier, because then someone can say, I didn't get that email, and you could say, well, it was sent. So, Kathy, you have a question?
About those specific text messages.
That is completely separate from this. Yeah, that's kind of an add-on that was thrown on in a later update, so can't do much about that. So, though Cersei Dynex does, what about text messages? Text messaging in Horizon is different. It's an add-on that they added on in a later upgrade. Although Cersei Dynex is saying they're doing some improvements in that in a coming release. So, any other questions? Tyler, why do you have a question? No, just kidding.
A question about notices in general. I think I remember hearing this at one point, but even patrons who have emails selected for their notice by type, don't certain notices override and go to print anyway, like lost? Or are those always emailed?
Yeah.
Actually, that's with SMS. With the text messaging, it is automatically the billing and the loss notices, the final notice, not loss and billing, excuse me, go out via either email or standard because of all the legal issues that might arise from that.
So Tyler asked, are there some notices that override the notice by type in the borrow record? And for email and print, the answer would be no, but it sounds like for SMS, the answer is yes. Lost in billings. They are if you have them as SMS as your notice by type, well, it's in its place in the borrow record, then it will override and do a print. Okay. If that makes sense.
Just to clarify one more time, so if we're doing our own notice that doesn't want the actual notices, we have to have you SELCO now.
Notices, correct?
Correct. So Morgan asked if you, no, it's okay. Morgan asked if you were doing your own notices and you want the optional notices, we have to have SELCO do your email notices, and that's yes. It's kind of a format all or nothing thing for the most part. Okay. Gail has a question.
Cheryl, you talked about sending an email overdue immediately?
Yes.
Okay. So is that schedule different than the print schedule I have set up, which is first notice delay after 6 days, I think, overdue?
So Gail's asking about, she wanted to know, can you send an overdue notice immediately when it becomes overdue? And the answer is yes, you can. So it's based on the block. So as soon as the item becomes overdue, which is part of day end is aging things to overdue, that OD block is generated, and that's what's kicking off the email notice. So you can send an overdue email, and then your first notice delay still is in effect. So then your first notice would go out. So, and the overdue one is optional. So, any other questions? Okay, you can always contact the help desk, and someone will get back to you.